So this is a big sign. Maersk is to pause all container ship traffic through the Red Sea. This is something that is actually kind of an update to what we were talking about with the Red Sea and what is going down there. We've talked about the drones that were shot down there, and it says that Danish shipping company AP Moller Maersk will pause all container shipments through the Red Sea until further notice, spokesperson for the company told Reuters on Friday. Now, Maersk is a huge company. If you don't know Maersk, then you probably haven't lived on this earth for very long. Maersk is a container that you've probably seen, and it's probably in your subconscious somewhere because it is in every city, I believe, all around the world. If you've been around seedy industrial areas, then you've probably seen a Maersk container. As far as this company saying that they will not go through a certain area and to not go through such a big area like the Red Sea, that's a big deal. It says that following the near-miss incident involving Maersk Gibraltar yesterday and yet another attack on a container vessel today, we have instructed all Maersk vessels in the area bound to pass through Bab al-Mandab Strait to pause their journey until further notice, the company said in a statement. Maersk on Thursday said its vessel Maersk Gibraltar was targeted by a missile while traveling from Salalah. It says, and of course, Saudi Arabia, and then that crew and vessel were reported safe. So this is getting into the gritty of our supply chain even. This is, of course, worldwide supply chains are at stake with some of these pass-throughs, the seas, the straits. Of course, we've talked about many of these. I mean, one little mistake can cause inflation. We saw when that one ship got stuck in one of the straits, it got stuck sideways. It cost billions of dollars per minute. So I can only imagine putting a pause on many ships will cause something to that order. That is, of course, on top of all of the other things going on right now. This is the smallest story of today. So if you cannot wait to hear what the last 24 hours has brought us, then make sure to stick around. We'll be right back right after our disclaimers. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, so if you're new here, remember, you can, of course, subscribe and get notifications through YouTube, but you can also go over to marfooglenews.com and get notifications through us. If you do that, you, of course, will be guaranteed a notification the second we go live. The show start and the YouTube time are a little bit different because we're on multiple platforms. So remember that. We usually have that YouTube time about 15 minutes before the start time. That is so everybody can congregate, but also so we can set up for the other platforms that we are on as well. Make sure to go to the website. You will find a full bibliography. So if you're trying to fact check this show, you can always go back and see exactly where we got the information. That way you know where you are getting it from. When you go there, you'll see every single one has a bibliography as far as all of our videos, and it is all tied to the thumbnail and title of this video. If you go to This Will Be Felt Worldwide, just click on this thumbnail, you will be brought to a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. Of course, whole list of that, you can read along, you can grab a second device, and grab some popcorn and watch the world burn. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Before we talk about the Maersk thing, I do want to point out, if you want to find our mods, go over to marfuglenews.com/friends. Marfuglenews.com has pretty much everything. If you want to find somebody, or if there's somebody who comes on the show, most likely they are going to be on the friends list or added to it. So go check that out, as of course has all of our wonderful mods and their creations, their YouTubes, their books, their artwork right there. So Dex, as far as Maersk, everybody of course knows Maersk. And hold on one second, let me see if I feel like I wonder. Trying to see, Dex, does the sound off, or is that just me? Is that just my end of things, or is that
I think it's just your end because it sounds pretty normal to me.
okay? I just wanted to make sure. Somebody said that my sound was off. If it is or if it isn't, let me know in the chat below. As far as Maersk, Maersk is a huge company. I actually have a model of a Maersk ship upstairs, and I built it a very long time ago. So I've always known about Maersk. Maersk is a giant company, and if they're pausing ships through the Red Sea, it kind of makes you wonder. With all of the chatter that's happening right now, recent deployments, two of my friends have just gotten deployment orders 1 or 2 nights ago, and that is, they are, instead of leaving February, they're going to be leaving on Tuesday. This is on a huge list of Fugle fam and Marfia members, in fact, audience members, that have said that their friends or family are being deployed, or the actively serving members that are being deployed right now. There are a lot of deployments. As far as not getting into specifics where they're going, most of you can guess where they went. Most of the deployments are going to mainly Iraq and the Middle East. But there are some other deployments that I thought were pretty interesting. Obviously, there's bases around the world, everything else. But also there's chatter with AJ. AJ said something about NATO basically mobilizing for conflict. I think that he's actually closer to right than not. In fact, I think that it's very telling when NATO comes out directly and they fact check it with NATO's own response. That's pretty big. Dex, as far as Maersk, could this hurt us here in the U.S. as far as prices, or would this not affect us much because of the route that it is?
It's a good question. I think it depends on what they may be shipping our way, or what may be going through that channel to get our way, or from our country through that country to another country. So there's probably some effect, but I think really what there might be is more of a ripple effect that happens to the rest of the shipping industry. And more so, does anyone else fall in suit with Maersk and say, "Hey, we're not going to go through here anymore"? That's the big question. And maybe what they're thinking is, hey, if we do this, it'll help, calm things down, because everybody will say this is a big deal. We can't not have commerce flowing through here, and both sides may back down on the heat that's in the Red Sea. That maybe that's the take, because what they're not doing is they're not saying, hey, we're going to go around Africa. They're not taking the long way. They're just saying we're not going at all. We just stop. So I'm surprised that they would just stop their business.
Well, it means that there's something else going on. How many of you in chat, press one if you think that there is something pending, and that is why Maersk is making this decision. Press number 2 in chat if you think that it is something else. It's a really huge step for them to pause basically money coming in the door. Press 1 if you think that this is due to this decision is made because they know something we don't. 2 if you think it's something else. And then let's see here. We're going to go into other stuff. By the way, there have been, so I posted on Twitter, and I don't know the user, but the more I look into it myself, there are a lot of different servers, a lot of ones, by the way. Scott from OZ, thank you. Kay Shauda, Baby Doc, Terry Snyder. There are a few twos mixed in there, but mostly ones. J Girl, this new stream for tonight. Well, I don't know. This is today. This is new. Will we be the last to know? Yes, I think so, actually. Arizona Raven, Miriam Lassiter, Robert Rodriguez, and Poco Loco. Thank you. I appreciate that. Feels like a rerun to me. Well, the world is. We've never talked about Maersk, actually. But as far as or them stopping in the Red Sea. But I will say this: a lot of servers are down right now, and there are a lot of weird things going on. In fact, the reason why our articles look different is the service that we use to change it so they all look uniform. That is down. There have been one thing after another has been going down lately. Not to mention, a lot of folks went out about. It was crazy when all these servers went down. The loudest people were the people that were on Mortal Kombat 1, the brand new Mortal Kombat game. When that went down, everybody was on Twitter about it. But if you look in between that, you had major ISPs that were down for huge chunks of time, from Frontier to Spectrum to all these different internet companies. All of them had this huge giant spike when you went over to down detector. So something, we know that there are cyber events happening right now. We know that there are cyber hacks. So I would even further let you guys know everybody should be getting their P's and Q's and planning for the unexpected. And then we have Israeli troops mistakenly took, let's see here, let's stop that. Mistakenly killed 3 hostages in the strip. Dex, do you want to go over this? How did this happen?
So yeah, so apparently they were taken out by friendly fire while the IDF was engaging with the enemy there. So during the combat operations in Shijiva, a dense neighborhood in the Gaza City area where fighting had been taking place, the IDF military said troops mistakenly identified 3 hostages as threats, and the troops then fired at the 3, and they were unfortunately uh, taken out. So, not the type of thing you want to happen, but it's certainly the type of thing that you can see happening in these situations. I mean, things are tense. It's very difficult to do what they're doing, and it is, accidents like this or mistakes like this or misidentifications like this happen quite often in conflict. You don't want it to happen. They train their best to not allow it to happen, but unfortunately, it did, and they did come right out and say it happened. So yeah, that's pretty sad for the families that were looking for those 3 folks.
Well, and this is gonna be touchy, but um, if you've seen the releases, you have to point this out. Like, we should be able to talk about this. The people that have been released by this group, these are hostages that have been held. Every video I've seen is the 2 older ladies, that video, the other video of the men, the first video that came out of them releasing someone. The old ladies gave the people holding them, they said, "Oh, no, no, we can't leave. Give me a hug." They hugged the people in the full on face masks. The second one, they shook hands and they gave a hearty embrace. Um, it's just so weird. And I'm thinking when I see this, I'm like, or when they're bored, do they try on the mask? Like, oh, let me be one for a minute. Like, what the heck is going on here? How did they misidentify these people as it? Or is it because they're all sitting around a campfire having fun or something? The only reason I'm saying this is every video that we've seen of somebody being released, it's like they're friendly with these people. You could call it, maybe it's Stockholm syndrome, where they end up liking their captors. But it's just very weird. Nothing sits right about this whole thing. They ended up taking 3 people out in this. Huge mistake. And then prayers for the families that just lost folks, that just lost their family members. But we should all be asking questions like, how did these things happen? Why does it happen? Don't just take their answer. Oh, it was friendly fire. They mistook them for the bad guys. That's what they're saying. Mistakenly identified 3 hostages as a threat. Well, if they're hugging and stuff, do you think they were like, no, 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 don't? Bob was nice to me. Don't know, but well, I guess we'll never really know. Why isn't something like this? Why, if the world is watching and the world is expected to fund this stuff, no matter how graphic this whole thing gets, I think a solution to all of this is if it was completely transparent and there was body cams everywhere and you knew exactly what was going on. But it's never like that. Most all of it is top secret, everything else. You know they have body cameras. You know that the government sees that stuff, but we don't. And we know we get lied to on a daily basis. We know that they lie about what's happening and what's going on. So this is crazy. So if you don't think that something is happening, if you look at all of the most in tune elites, they are all doing something to prepare for some sort of event. But yet, if you're just a regular person, you're considered crazy if you're prepping. Meanwhile, all of the most elite circle of people, the people that know absolutely everything, you know that these people are not filled in last when it comes to geopolitics and what's going on in the world, what kind of threats are out there. These are the people that know everything. They run in a circle that makes the decisions to push the buttons to destroy things. So you know they know something. And Mark Zuckerberg, we've talked about before how in his office he has a slide. No joke, he built a slide. And some people thought, oh, it's just for fun. It's an eccentric billionaire that makes a slide down to his car. He had a slide installed in his office. So if something happens, he can then pop open a hatch and then drop down a slide and then go to his car or to his limo or to whatever vehicle is down in the garage. That was in the California office, I believe. And it's also apparent that he has a top secret Hawaii compound, which I'm sure was not harmed during any of the recent events. It says Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is building a sprawling $100 million compound in Hawaii, complete with plans for a huge underground bunker. A Wired investigation reveals the true scale of the project and its impact on the local community. So there's some pretty trippy stuff here. It says that off the 2-lane highway that winds along the northeast side of the Hawaiian island of Kauai, on a quiet stretch of the ranch land between the tourist hubs of Kapa and Hanalei, an enormous secret construction project is underway. A 6-foot wall blocks the view from a nearby road fronting the project, where cars slow to try to catch a glimpse of what's behind it. Security guards stand and watch at an entrance gate and patrol the surrounding beaches on ATVs. This is no joke, sounding like an EpiPen island or something, right? Pickup trucks roll in and out, hauling building materials and transporting hundreds of workers. And Dex, I'm actually gonna have to switch over views of this because it's blocking me for the paywall here. So hold on. Let me. Can you cover the next
Yeah, certainly. No,
part here?
yeah, nobody working on this project is allowed to talk about what they're building. Almost anyone who passes the compound security, from carpenters to electricians to painters to security guards, is bound by a strict non-disclosure agreement, according to several workers involved in the project. And they say the agreements aren't a formality. Multiple workers claim they saw or heard about colleagues removed from the project for posting about it on social media. Different construction crews within the site are assigned to separate projects, and their workers are forbidden from speaking with other crews about their work. So, in other words, everybody is being isolated and everything's being contained. And then, of course, they're all under threat of lawsuit for speaking about whatever it is they're building.
It's a fight
Uh,
club.
it's a fight club. We don't talk about fight clubs, says David, one of the former contract employees. So, um, Wired interviewed a handful of people that had worked there. They are not releasing their real names, but they also went and got a lot of the information from the public records on what they could find out. So some really crazy things happening here. Aside from him building these lavish mansions, which you would expect from big billionaires, he's gonna they say it's basically two huge mansions, a whole bunch of tree houses interconnected with uh, uh, walking bridges between them for guests, something like 30 bedrooms, 30 bathrooms in total, 57,000 square feet with multiple elevators, offices, conference rooms. But it gets better. So the plans show that the two central mansions will be joined by a tunnel that branches off into a 5,000 square foot underground shelter featuring a living space, a mechanical room, and an escape hatch that can be accessed via a ladder. There are cameras everywhere, one of the people said. He said, and documents back this up. He said, in one small ranch operation building alone, just one little building that was out there, there were more than 20 cameras on it. Many of the compound's doors are either keypad operated, soundproofed. Others, like in the library, are described to be blind doors. Those are the doors that are hidden in a wall. You think there's a wall, and then the door just slides into the wall, and you can all of a sudden it opens up. So it's got hidden doors throughout it. Um, and the doors in the underground shelter are to be constructed out of metal and filled with concrete in style of a common bunker and boom shelter. So the according to sources, the planning documents that were reviewed by Wired, um, the compound will be self-sufficient. It'll have its own water tank, 55 feet in diameter, 18 feet tall, along with a pump system. It has its own power plant or power production. It already has food produced on 1,400 acres. Ranching and agricultural style is also there as well. And while they say it was 100 million, it was actually, when you put the construction and the land purchase together, it's 270 million in total. So lots, and also some shady stuff going on there. Like there was one of the security guards, 70-year-old, who was guarding the beach, who's supposed to have an ATV, but it was raining, so they couldn't use an ATV. They wouldn't give him one to get back. He had to walk and hike up a mountain or something like that, which caused him to have a heart attack, and then he later perished. Even that whole experience and the family trying to get information about their loved one who was working there but had was in the hospital and died, all of it locked down. They wouldn't allow anyone to talk to anybody and get any information because of the secrecy that goes on at this. Now, very, very long article. We're not going to go through all of it. There's one last thing I'd like to point out that I thought was really interesting, because they talk about some other folks, like obviously um, Bezos and the land he bought in Florida. Of course, what's his name? Larry Ellison, and the whole island he bought in Hawaii. He owns one of the big islands there, or not big islands, one of the smaller but large island for an individual. That's for sure. But here's an interesting one. So in NZ, the New Zealand, considered by some to be the ideal place to wait out an apocalyptic event, is now riddled with bunkers for the tech elite. Recently reinstalled OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has arranged with Peter Thiel, first revealed in the New Yorker, where the pair will take a jet to one of Thiel's New Zealand properties in the case of an apocalyptic event. In his book Survival of the Richest, media theorist Douglas Rushkoff describes the meeting of the two billionaires, etc. So even those two billionaires have plans to bug out together in an island down in NZ.
And one of the locals ended up saying that the chatter around the island, and who knows, the chatter around the island may be truer than you think, with companies like the Boring Company able to go in and contract and actually dig whole, vast tunnels. It said one person heard that Zuckerberg was building a vast underground city. Now, already his house, they say the square footage of this thing equals about a football field. Like it's unimaginable for anybody like us to think about a house that big. Most of us have never even been into a house that big. That's bigger than most Costco. I mean, I think that's bigger than a Costco. As far as big buildings that you would go in like this. Only this is a house you would get lost in. This is a house you would need directions and a map for. So that is not including the underground bunker, right? 5,000 square foot bunker is bigger than most of our houses. This is, a bunker like we saw at the end of Leave the World Behind, right? By the way, just bringing in Hollywood, there's another show that I just saw. I cannot believe how many shows are mentioning Civil War right now. There's another show on Netflix called Obliterated. It's like everyone is talking about this, and you don't see it until very much later in the show, but they talk about this secretive group that's trying to push everybody. It was out of place. The whole show had kind of normal stuff, and then it just shows you a bunch of masked people talking about pushing the world towards civil conflict. It's like, how many Hollywood pushes are there towards us having some sort of civil conflict? But I do want to point out Zuckerberg and others have been this entire time prepared for something. You have Bezos, you have, of course, Bill Gates has a bunker under all of his houses. You have Atlas Survival admitting and factually saying that at least one of the five really, really popular Billionaires has contracted him to do many bunkers. And I don't think he's dealt with Gates. I think he's dealing with one of the other ones. So you know that multiple of these extremely rich folks out here are essentially preparing for some sort of event. It really seems like, by the way, on the side, there's a lot of chatter about some sort of event that would cause flooding worldwide. Now we already talked about in the last month about how the super rich are building. There's such demand that there's companies building these $2 billion subs that rival our Navy submarines. They are submarine yachts. These yachts are insane. We've shown them on the show. They're just absolutely nuts. And then selling people movable islands. These almost look like an oil drilling rig that can move around. Why do they need this? Just to show off to their friends and family? Just so they can, spend some of their money that just keeps replicating? That's how much money they have. It's unbelievable. Um, it's just really getting to the point where how many of the most connected people in the world are preparing for the worst, for people to see, for them to realize, like, why aren't we? We're just expecting that the government and the military, whatever happens, if there's a bad disaster, they're just going to come in and they're going to fix it. We might have to deal with some hardship, but then it will all be good. Everything will restore order. We have had order for a very good chunk of time, and if you look out throughout history, every civilization like ours, where it's at the number one spot, does not last forever. And if you look at all the signs, from the economy to the actual spirituality of our country, to just the connections we all have, and to the duress and stress that we're all under, I don't think it's going to last too much longer. And that's a very sad thing, right? But people really need to wake up. The world is not getting better. And if they're prepared for this kind of stuff, it is not only survivable, you could have fun during this time period. Let's see here. I don't know why. I think this one loaded wrong here. Hold on. Yeah, I think that's just something clicked on. Let's see here. And the biggest solar flare in years temporarily disrupts radio signals on Earth. Now, this also could have explained some of the weird disruptions and weird server downs that we had. Let's see here. It says, out of Cape Canaveral, a NASA telescope has captured the biggest solar flare in years, which temporarily knocked out radio communications on Earth. So this did hit, and it hit hard right when it did. It said the sun spit out a huge flare along with a massive radio burst on Thursday, causing 2 hours of radio interference in parts of the U.S. and other sunlit parts of the world. Scientists of the National Oceanic, or NOAA, said it was the biggest flare since 2017, and that the radio burst was extensive, affecting even the higher frequencies. The combination resulted in one of the largest solar radio events ever recorded, Sean Dahl of NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center said on Friday. So, is this something we're going to see more of? Well, we've been told for years that Solar Cycle 25 is going to be unpredictable, and it's going to be big. This is something that, another thing, it's like, when you talk about all of these things kind of lining up, what really even makes people not believe it is how many are lining up at the same time. That is what is so insane. It kind of reminded me of what the FBI director said the other day. Said, we've never seen this many threats from this many angles. They're coming from every direction. And that's how it feels right now. Is it all fake? Is it all orchestrated to scare us into something else? What are they scaring us into? Well, I don't think we can get scared into certain things. I think it takes huge events to actually change the world. See, huge events like Pearl Harbor in 2001 and those kind of events, those are the kind of events that immediately bring change, that bring in laws or bills or Patriot Acts. That's what brings in huge change, not just these scaring on the news, because we've gone through cycles of being scared on the news, like, oh, there might be this or that, but normally they're paired up with an actual event that really gets people scared. Once people are scared, they will demand, hey, we want you to track and trace us. Hey, if we're going to be safe, we would rather be safe than have our individual, freedoms. Our rights? We don't have any rights. Why would we need rights when we're safe? That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it? Let me know in the chat below. By the way, thank you, Lola Cafe. Thank you for the super thanks on Breaking Christmas Warning. Thank you. I used to be in the library for your super thanks on the last 72 hours. And then thank you, Woman of Wonder, Sarah B, and Debbie357 yesterday. I appreciate that. Stephen McMahon, thank you for the super chat. Says, didn't they imply at the end of Leave the World Behind that the forces fighting in D.C. and New York were domestic? Yes, they did. Everybody, a good chunk of people are like, oh, it's just a movie. There are so many movies and television series like Salvation, Obliterated. You've got, of course, Leave the World Behind. Now they're coming out with a movie straight up called Civil War. There's been some really good ones in the past, like Bushwick and others. But it's like they're pointing towards the situation where we are in a civil conflict. That is Hollywood, right? So everybody is going to laugh it off. Now that it has been portrayed by Hollywood, people are going to, oh, yeah, like in the movie. They're not going to take it seriously. But yet before these movies and before this was the talk of the town, for 5 straight years, we have seen one sign after another showing us that this is where it is heading. There has never been this much duress between different parties. It doesn't matter if it's between different religious parties, different colors, different ages. I mean, the age groups. By the way, I helped with a homework for my 17-year-old, and I could not believe the stuff that they are doing in class. They were reading a book called Enrique's Journey, I believe, and you can look this up. But essentially, the English part of this was essentially talking about how it was literally telling, what do you call it? It was op-ed. It's basically an op-ed about the border and things like this. This is what they are putting into curriculums. They could have chose probably a billion different topics to teach a certain way of doing English, like biographies, autobiographies, editorials, like the difference between and how to teach that. They choose content now that essentially puts them at odds with the older generation. An older generation looks at this and they're offended. They're like, why is this political stuff in actual teaching agendas? Like, they could do something that's completely apolitical and teach the actual English part of it without going off of on these side things. They don't have to go political. Companies don't have to be political, but they are. That's the thing. There's never been so much manufactured divisiveness than we have seen right now. Do you feel the same way? Let me know in the chat if I'm crazy. Do they need to be, if they are going to study a book, why isn't it a book from history or a book that is completely apolitical, that doesn't have anything to do with that? If they're trying to learn about, editorial slash the difference between a biography and an autobiography, do they need to use a subject that is political for that? Or can they choose anything from the cat went to the store or something? Like, I feel like our schooling back 20 years ago was not this political. And all I see in the schooling now is that it is. I mean, asking at the time, kindergartner, this is a few years back when CV was happening, the class did a class project where they asked every parent, they asked the kid to tell them who their parents were voting for. I mean, like, really? Nobody saw a problem with that when they were talking about doing it. Like, this kind of crazy stuff is happening right now, and I think that there is a reason for it. Everything is being pushed towards a battle. So I would take these movies and these things that are happening right now. Art imitates life, and that's not a cliche. It has now become fact after time and time again. These things have happened. Life imitates art. Art imitates life. It just happens because that's where people's minds are. That's where the creative mind goes towards realism. Stephen McMahon, thank you so much. Western Body, Merry Christmas, Marv. Merry Christmas to you too. And I'm hoping that a lot of you are going to have a wonderful Christmas. But I would say keep your head on a swivel this Christmas. They are straight up putting it out there, and don't go living your whole Christmas season scared of things, but also don't be sideswiped by some surprise event. That's what we are talking about now. If you know about the chatter going on with the Germany and all of the things that are going on, then you probably understand that there is a chance that this could very well go down sooner than later. So, not to mention the different threats against the U.S. and around Christmas time. I'm hoping that none of those happen. Sean Morgan, thank you for being a member for 5 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. And before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you want to protect yourself, one of the biggest threats is an EMP. The reason why this is one of the biggest threats, on top of solar flare, this also protects against CMEs, or a Carrington level event, is because these are two of the most probable events that could happen. In fact, a solar event will happen at some point. We just don't know when. But as far as an EMP, it does not directly take life itself. It is one thing that almost every adversary has, and it is something that many of our adversaries have said and threatened to do. So as a prepper and a prepper-minded news channel, this is our recommendation as far as if you want to protect your cars, your trucks, your motorcycles, or anything else that you want to be able to get out to bug out or get home to bug in, then you would want to have an EMP shield on it. This is something that obviously you're not going to be able to get after everything hits the fan. It's not going to be something that's going to be a fun toy to play with. It is installed and then it's done. You forget about it. It's there. It's going to be something that you're not going to need until you do. And you're going to really thank yourself that you did it if something happens. Now, it protects not only against the EMP in all 3 phases, it protects against the sun and a Carrington level event from the sun knocking out your car. It also can protect your generators. They make one for your gas generators, your solar generators in the case of the energy, and you can even protect your home and everything plugged in within 250 linear feet from where it is wired in. It takes about 10 minutes to put it in any of the vehicles. It's the easiest to put in the vehicles, of course. Red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, and green to ground. Then just bolt it to the side of an open area, and boom, you're done. It's set up. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get $50 off from our link, but that also stacks on top of anything that is going on over there. And then, of course, again, that will also help our channel at the same time. We are completely independent. We're on our own. We don't have a multi-channel network to protect us from censorship. We don't have anything. We have the Foogle fam, and we have, of course, our sheer will and our great mods. So go over there, check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. It's the same company that's outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team. But of course, they're quietly doing it for themselves. They're not going to do it for you. And then we have Jeff Bezos plays down the AI dangers and says 1 trillion humans could live in a huge cylindrical space station. Wow, you couldn't get any more Elysium than this. Straight up saying that humans could live in a huge cylindrical space station. I guess it would have to be a ring to be Elysium, but wow, Dex, how crazy is this? Jeff Bezos of Blue Origin is telling us that people could live in space.
Yeah, exactly. So he was doing an interview with podcaster Lex Friedman, and he was in the discussion. And part of the discussion they were talking about, and he was rejecting sort of the idea of colonizing other planets, saying he believes that space colonies are the way to go. And he said, "I would love to see 1 trillion humans living in the solar system. If we had 1 trillion humans, we would have at any given time 1,000 Mozarts, 1,000 Einsteins, etc." He said the only way to get that vision is with giant space stations. The planetary surfaces are just way too small. So his idea also went on to suggest that you would treat Earth like a vacation destination, like the populations would live in these giant space stations, and the planets would be places to go vacation at. So he also dismissed, some of the, played down, I guess, in his opinion, the dangers of AI. But I think, he's probably got to, because it's as much as they're investing in AI, just like everyone else, he's not gonna want to put a negative spin on it. Um, but very fascinating. I think the whole Elysium thing is what I was thinking of, but he's talking even bigger. I guess he's talking something like those silos that you see in the TV show Silo, but at a giant scale, but floating in space.
Now, of course, I know a chunk of you are rolling your eyes at that. But one thing to think about is how these guys think. Like, if that was the case, it's like the very, very rich would live up there. We would live down here. It's straight up from the movie. If you haven't seen Elysium, highly recommend it. It has a message kind of buried in it that, it's the rich and the rich versus the poor. And we're not on we're in that case literally not on the same planet. Um, and that's how I think that it actually kind of says how they think of us, right? We're not on the same planet as them. We're on their planet, and their planet needs to be saved and cleansed of us. I believe that's how most of them do think. And then US military returns to the jungle training for future threats. Mind you, they've done a lot of weird drills around the Northwest here, up by Seattle and Oregon. Seattle and Portland, Oregon. There's been a lot of stuff being done in the dark over the last couple years. I've covered a lot of them. But one by one, the American soldiers slid down a muddy hillside to a river deep in the Hawaiian jungle with guns on top of rucksacks. They kicked their way across, wobbling in the current, trying to stay quiet. It was a sluggish advance, stinking of sweat and silt, reminiscent of Vietnam, or similar to what they might face in a potential fight with China almost anywhere in the Pacific. It says it's incumbent on us to become resident professionals. It says who traverse the river arm in arm with a junior officer. Firemen don't figure out how to work a fire engine at the fire, right? Military strategists like to say that the jungle is neutral, helping neither friend nor foe. But for most, the 79 students last month at the U.S. Army's only jungle school, the J was just plain new. It says it was nothing like home or deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, which explained why they were there to deter China and work effectively with partners in the region. American ground forces need more jungle experience. Why do you think that they're training in the jungle, people? Why do you think that they're testing on these kinds of grounds? But also, it's like it's kind of stupid that they're saying like 80 of these people that went to and it's rotational, right? But 80 students last month, 80 people a month go there, and China's going to be scared of us because 80 people trained in the jungle. It's not exactly how it works. The Marine Corps has been assigning a significant portion of its force to the muggy, rainy terrain of Okinawa, Japan, and training with partners near the equator. For the Army, Hawaii has become a regional proxy. Commanders are pushing more soldiers through its jungles as the 25th Infantry Division expands instruction at its expeditionary school and leads a new Pacific training rotation that brought together 5,300 troops. Also, think about the Philippines. We're talking about supporting Philippines. We're talking about supporting Guyana. We're talking about supporting all sorts of other countries here that might have these kind of conditions. They're preparing for war. And I know that our friends and family will never see it, not until it actually happens. The jungle buildup with roots in the pivot to Asia under President Barack Obama highlights the challenge U.S. military faces as it tries to prioritize China and unbind itself from decades of war in the Middle East, even as conflict that there pulls America back in. For Hawaii, the shift has been slow but undeniable. Government records point to new command centers, piers, runways, and barracks, along with a boost in training tempo, sending more planes over beaches and warships in and out of Pearl Harbor. Listen to what they're actually saying. They're building new runways. They're building new centers. They're building new piers. They're building new barracks. And they're also drilling like crazy over there. Something is about to go down. You don't have to be a math whiz to figure 2 plus 2. Dex, this is pretty telling of what's going on.
Well, and let's not forget that some of the training that they're talking about being near the equator also will play out in a lot of the places that China has partnerships or Belt and Road initiatives, large debts that they will come collecting on in countries in those regions. And they will probably be staging from those areas. So there will be a lot going on probably throughout South America, even Africa, and Central America, even the canal, probably for that matter, the Panama Canal, if this kicks off. Also, going back to Zuckerberg's place, does he did he give any thought to the fact that like that's a prime military area? Like, if things went south, like, wouldn't you think if you build this big luscious bunker and facility for all them, that the military would just swoop in and say, "Hey, we need this. Get out."
Now with the kind of agreements they probably have with them. But who knows? As far as American Argonaut said that the U.S. does that. Yes, no, they already do rotations of that, but now they're saying that it is up 1,270%. All of the different drills and the different things that are going on there. Uh, that obviously we can all speculate on how much it's actually gone up in the last couple years, but in the last 6 months, all of the different pushes to do this kind of work, if there's a huge jump, and by the way, we only find out usually when it's around the budget time. That's when they find out how much money went where, and how much money is supposed to go somewhere. That's when you really can see kind of the deeper angles of this. But a lot of the stuff though too, even if there is money aside, they'll just put it to a blank cause, or there's money that just goes missing, and we don't know what that actually goes to. There's a lot of secret projects going on right now. And then Britain, Japan, and Italy sign advanced fighter jet program treaty. I don't know why they'd had to do. I'm sure there's some sort of symbology. This guy can even tell on the left. He's like, this is stupid. Who shakes hands like this? But either way, this kind of three-way agreement here is a big deal. Not to mention Asia, Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. are starting like this Asian NATO. And now you have them teaming up with, of course, Italy and Britain. What is happening here? This is preparing for a world conflict. Britain, Japan, and Italy have signed an international treaty to establish a program aimed at developing an advanced fighter jet, the defense ministers of the three allies announced on Thursday. The agreement, which Reuters reported this month, comes a year after three countries established their first major defense industry collaboration by merging the separate next-generation fighter efforts of London and Tokyo. The parliaments of each country must ratify the agreement, which aims to see the combat aircraft in flight by 2035. The joint development phase of the program will begin in 2025. Both the joint government headquarters of the Global Combat Air Program, the GCAP, and its industry counterpart will be based in Britain. The government organization's first chief executive will come from Japan, while the first leader of the business organization will be from Italy, according to the announcement. No nation can do this alone to this level of expertise, combined with our skills and our equipment, with our design and ability on production lines. That was the British Defense Minister Grant Shapps. So one thing to point out is like you're having these new alliances form that are going to be the world's kind of next groups. And when you have countries, this is globalization. This is what's happening right now. Is it's less about, Japan's doing this by this. It's these countries combining. It's these countries doing these very close ties with each other. That is what really a lot of folks are looking at here. And they're seeing that a lot of these countries are intermingling, and they're basically tying all of their most important things together. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and this is also a major snub, in my opinion, and I think others, towards the U.S. military-industrial complex, because normally next-gen fighters would be coming from us, F-35s, F-22s, whether it be, Boeing-made, Lockheed Martin, etc. Yeah, they're basically saying, "Nah, we're not going the U.S. route. We're going to build our own."
So essentially, the leader of the world is getting left out. The leader is no longer leading. And then the world's first human brain scale supercomputer will go live next year. Dex, do you want to go over this one? This is, in my mind, terrifying.
Yeah, it certainly is. The supercomputer named Deep South is being developed by Western Sydney University in Australia. When it goes online next year, it'll be capable of 228 trillion synaptic operations per second. It could one day help create a cyborg brain vastly more powerful than our own. Our brains are remarkably efficient. Just using 20 watts of power, the human brain is capable of processing the equivalent of an exaflop or a billion mathematical operations per second. Now, researchers in Australia are building what will be the world's first supercomputer that can simulate networks at this scale. The supercomputer known as Deep South, which I already mentioned, when it goes online next year, it'll be capable of 228 trillion synaptic operations per second, which rivals the estimated rate of the operation of the human brain. The hope is to better understand how brains can use such little power to process huge amounts of information. So ultimately, they're building a massive supercomputer. They do this all the time. They got bigger supercomputers out there, but what they're trying to do is build a supercomputer and figure out how they can make it smaller in the sense that it's using less power. And obviously, our brains are the optimal because they use very little power, as it said earlier, 20 watts. And if they can uh, build systems that can be smaller using less energy, but can process much more information, then we're going to be a lot closer to having that dystopian future or that crazy future that
Terminator.
we think of Terminators and cyborgs running around. Exactly.
Yeah, why did they need it this small? Right? Why do they need a supercomputer this small? I understand that everything should be, they don't a supercomputer in science fiction, especially decades and decades ago, they were as big as a house. I mean, we even see servers and big supercomputers now that are huge rooms in every kind of portrayal. It's these giant rooms full of huge towers of servers that are, powering the thing. They're trying to get it down to the size where they can put it in a drone. Seems like it. Uh, uh, this kind of supercomputer going in and being tied in with AI and being able to respond and do tasks, and if you're able to ask it to do things, look at what ChatGPT can do now. Look at what Grok can do. Look at what these AIs can do now. You can ask it a question; it's going to answer like a human would. It's not going to be exact, but if you haven't really tested this stuff out, it's terrifying how good it is. Now imagine when you could actually ask that ChatGPT to do something physical. Hey, ChatGPT, can you take that couch and put it over there? And it can single-handedly pick up a couch and bring it over to somewhere. Think about how many jobs this could replace if these robots could do physical jobs. And not to mention, there's no L&I claims, there's no health insurance, there's no life insurance, there's no 401ks for a robot. There may be some repair fees, there might be a replacement down the road, but who knows? In the future, I could imagine there would be plans for companies where they buy a robot and every 5 or 6 years it gets replaced. They pay a fee, and they have these robots in warehouses at first, and then it expands from there. Then you have robots driving trucks, flying planes, doing all sorts of stuff. The middle class is going to be deleted. I mean, like one press of a button, and just the middle class and every minimum wage job underneath that is going to be deleted. Snow Leo, thank you for supporting, and thank you everybody that supports the channel. I can't say thank you enough. Thank you, Snow Leo, for the super sticker. And then Julie Pilkerton says, Merry Christmas to Adam, Dex, and Mods and the entire family who are courageous enough to look at the truth and not turn away. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this incredibly insightful, brave, and encouraging family. Julie, thank you. And again, I love, I think that is what the best part of this channel is definitely the community as far as why people stick around. It's not because Dex or I or anybody else. It's because of the community. So without you guys, we are nothing. So thank you, Julie. Thank you, Kim Waxman. Says, great show, Adam and Dex. Keep looking up. Will do, Kim. And thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Western Body, again, thank you. And Merry Christmas to all of you. I'm It's so crazy how fast it is coming up. And as far as if you haven't already, make sure to go check out marfugglenews.com/prep. If you don't have food in your pantry, if you are one of the many that has about 3 days of food in your fridge, then I'd highly recommend getting more. Again, it is up to you what you need, but most people recommend anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. And that's a huge, huge amount of food. That's a lot of money if you think about it. And that's even more if you think about freeze dried food that will last 25 years. The reason why we have, as far as My Patriot Supply, which supports this, as one of the brands we recommend, is because of the affordability of their product. You can get a 3 month plan, which basically has a 3 month batch, which has 3 months of food, which means for one person, that means it can be broken down into a month and a half for two people, or a month of food for three people, and so on. It is it's going to average about $200 or 25% off around there, depending on when you watch this video. They always have a huge sale with our code. So with that, that is again something that's going to save you money, and you're going to get a whole lot of bang for your buck. Freeze dried food is extremely expensive because it lasts 25 years. This is inflation safe. As far as if you get it today, in 20 years from now, you can add water or cook in water, and then you essentially have that food in 20 years from now, and you don't have to buy whatever that food is from the store for, I don't know, you don't have to buy mac and cheese for $200 or eggs for $25 a piece. Who knows where food's going to go? But that's the whole point. If you have food like this, it's not going to go up. You're going to have it for as long as you keep it safe. Go to marfugglenews.com/prep. That helps us out. It gets you a giant discount. One of the largest discounts of any affiliates is through this code, marfugglenews.com/prep. So check it out. They also have the Alexa Pure Pro. Highly recommend it. As far as it can filter a whole lot of water in a short amount of time. It is again going to get rid of 99.9% of all of the nasty contaminants in the water, which includes lead, fluoride, chlorine, bacteria, pesticides, and now people will have to worry about any kind of pharmaceuticals in it. That is also there. You just have to click the top tab at the top to go to their other products. And then Dex, let me not play this here. You guys can watch this on your own. It is really nuts. A lot of the videos that I've seen after this. So on Twitter, I first saw this on Twitter today, and it was like this. I'm surprised New York Post is showing it unblurred. A lot of people are showing this blurred. You don't really see anything because by the time the stuff goes off, this guy walks into a room, throws looks like 2 grenades. It may be 3. He drops one. You can actually watch the look on the guy's face. He's holding a rolled up piece of paper, and after it drops to the ground, he's like looking, and then a second one hits, and he's like, and then boom, the whole room goes up. If you go through the screenshots, it goes from normal meeting to boom. And everything in between. Like as it happens, you can see the shards of things kind of popping up over everything. And then the sound is kind of you can go look at it. It might not be your thing. That's why I'm not going to show it. But it is pretty nuts. It says a Ukrainian politician casually, and I mean casually, that's the comment under this on every tweet, is he's so chill. The guy just walks in. He's like, okay, goes into his pocket, takes out one, takes out another, doesn't like toss it, just kind of chucks it onto the floor and then says something, and then boom. It's really nuts. He detonated multiple grenades during a heated village council meeting on Friday, injuring 26 people. And they said only one person perished, but that may change. I don't know. I could not believe there was that many people, and I was thinking, gosh, are these made in China grenades or something? Like how? Like no, I'm not even kidding. How did more people not perish? Dex, did you think that too? Like how?
Yeah, that's exactly what I tweeted because it did not seem if it was a regular what you would see a traditional military grenade, the whole room would have been gone. It looked like either flashbang or something else, but there were injuries. So, but there, like you said, there weren't any initially. There weren't any perishings. I haven't heard if anybody else has since then.
Yeah. Um, I can't walk, a woman's anguished voice heard crying out. But it's like, why? It was just so crazy. And then these people, it looks like they were relatively unharmed. Why would you throw it so close to yourself? After the first one goes, you can actually see this guy. He kind of flinches. After the second one, you can definitely see him. Looks like he gets messed up by it. But who knows? What do you think about it? Give me your opinion on it. Do you think it's Ganda? If you watch the actual video, you could see like people are like, "What the heck is that?" It looks like he threw like a toy squirt gun on the floor or something by the way they're reacting. The woman reacts kind of right here, the yellow hair. These guys on the other side of the table, they bolt. They bolt almost right away. And severe blizzard blankets Moscow in decades worth of snow, which who knows what that's a sign of. But it is really insane when you see some of the images of how much snow actually fell. It says reports from Russian television indicated that schools across the country were forced to close due to the heavy snowfall, and it really did. It said dumped a fifth of the average December snowfall within just 24 hours. Motorists found themselves struggling to free their cars from snow-covered parking spaces. According to the Gizmiteo, it says Moscow's total December snowfall could potentially reach 50 centimeters, the highest recorded in that month in recent history. But notice they're going to say that, and then it says highest recorded for that month in recent history. So it's happened before, but I'm sure that folks are going to use that like, oh, the world's changing, right? Again, they cover this stuff a lot, and even normal stuff they will essentially cover it as, getting hotter. Let's see here. I got to switch here so I can close some of this here.
And Adam, while you're doing that, there's another article that's in Screener if you want to pull it when you get a chance.
All right, and are we crediting Foogle fam for this, or is there
No, I found it on my own.
Okay. So check this out. Oh, and it looks like it's back up. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
10 IEDs found at the U.S.-Mexico border in cartel gunfight. Improvised explosive devices. This is everybody's going to debate. I hear our community, and I hear it because I get so many comments, and I see people saying, "Oh, it's just all fake." I hear everybody saying it's fake. At some point, there's going to be stuff that happens that's not, and that's the scary part. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is warning agents to be on the lookout for explosive devices. A federal law enforcement source shared with Fox Business Network an internal officer safety alert dated December 13th. Says that warns CPB agents to be vigilant after Mexican military seized 10 improvised explosive devices at the border. The IEDs were found by Mexican authorities after Tucson Border Patrol observed gunshots at the U.S.-Mexico border, and a Tucson supervisory Border Patrol agent arrested an armed person on the U.S. side who had a loaded AK-47, 2 loaded AK magazines, loose rounds, and a handgun. CBP is warning its agents to exercise extreme caution and should report any possible armed subjects approaching the borders with possible explosive devices. What were they going to use those for? Are they going to use them towards their fellow gang members, or was it something else? Everybody's on high alert, though, right now because all of the DHS comments and then the FBI comments saying that they're watching for folks coming from all of these countries, and they've already actually caught several that they did have bad intentions. And who knows what's actually happening in secret that they're not telling the public. Go ahead, Dex.
They smuggle lots of things across that border, whether it be illegal drugs, just like illegal people, but at the same time, it could be IEDs, could be the next big thing. Maybe trying to get them in, not just for their own use, maybe for someone else that's waiting for it on the other side.
To sell, to make money. They could make the cartels could make money from the bad guys, right? I feel like
Exactly.
whether it's
And the
or
cells, the sleepers sitting here could be buying them up.
whether it's orchestrated or not, you could see this being the new thing, right? And I felt like this for years after 2001. Like there was the 2007 train event. There was the boom boom here, the boom boom there. There were all these events, and would you guys agree that it felt like for a while there as you were watching, and this is before a lot of the hype about social media and a lot of the internet, the regular news on a weekly basis, it was like somebody was going in, and it happened in batches. It was like every week somebody would walk in somewhere and pop, 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 pop. It's weird that those things kind of slowed down or almost stopped there for a while, right? In fact, it went from pop, 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 pop to people then driving into crowds. Then it went from people driving into crowds to, I'm trying to remember a different one that happened, uh, to schools or to this, and it was like there were groups of these things, and you could say, oh, maybe it was a bunch of copycats or inspirational, or and then sniping events. Do you remember when the sniper stuff happened? It wasn't just the Washington D.C. one. Then it was like the five cops. Then it was people rolling up and just taking shots from their car. It was like drive-bys, but it was specifically aimed towards police and stuff. These happened in these groups, and each one of them had a huge push towards like disarming the United States. And it's like then it just goes away for a while. I could totally see this being the next thing, like IEDs on a road or something in the United States, where just some random person's driving by and boom, something goes off because it got triggered on a road or something, or it's on a dirt road in Texas or something. Somebody's driving in, boom, a school bus or some crazy stuff like that. I'm hoping it doesn't go there, but look at the predictive stuff that's happening right now. It's pretty alarming to say the least. And then U.S. gas prices could hold on here, make sure that that's not popping it. U.S. gas prices could get to under $3 a gallon by the end of the year. Dex, how the heck is that going to happen? And I sure as heck hope that's true.
Well, I think they're sort of saying that the production is up here in the U.S. and it's probably because we saw the what was happening with OPEC plus over in and what they were doing in Saudi as well about trying to raise prices and limit production. So if we're increasing, that may be helping. And then of course, if we do that, then it forces them to sort of drop prices. So the market will ebb and flow. And it just depends on what we do and how we react to it. But if it's heading in a good direction, I'm kind of curious what gas prices people are seeing around the country. But they have been they were fairly low here because we had a gas tax holiday for a while, but that went away. Of course, we all went and ran out and filled up the day before it went away. It was good 50 cents, I think it was, or 40 cents difference for us for a while.
Okay, so chat, let's go around the country. Say just the general state you're in, and we could do the kind of a roll call at the same time. State you're in, and then the last price you paid per gallon that you remember. $2.39 a gallon in the Alamo City, says John Love. Supply and demand. Here's the thing. I just want to point out we're still paying like $4.50, $4.70 or something last time. For premium at least. I don't. It's probably 30 cents cheaper for regular. Florida 289, 421 in Northwest Washington. Yeah, we have the worst here. It's like, look, Oregon is 345. For my fellow Washingtonians, like, what the heck? Why we're in a major state with major ports and all sorts of stuff? Like, why the heck do we have it so expensive?
Taxes.
So dumb. Lancaster, PA, 330. Then why the heck are all of our other taxes high too? It's like, it doesn't make sense. 255 a gallon. So they're saying that the average under 3. Isn't it funny? This is right before everybody drops this thing in the box to pick a prez or mails it in because we'll be stuck at home. Who knows? 549. Where was that at? Can somebody repeat that? Where was it? 549. Rip Curl readiness. I like it. Rip Curl. What is happening? Love ya. Gunslinger. $50,000 on Mars. Gray guy. That's kind of funny. Are you an actual gray? Roxy F. James McGowan. Mark Wisconsin. 360 a gallon. PA today. 339. Montana. 269. Diesel Washington, says Joe Scheidt. Yeah. See what I mean? Oh, that's diesel. Okay. Diesel. Got it. But isn't that usually $1 or something more than premium or around there? About $4.40 a gallon here in Alberta. So that actually, wait a second, that equals like a lot more, doesn't it? Because don't they charge, or I thought they charge by liter, but I wonder if you're doing the math on that. Dex, go ahead.
I was just quickly looked at something about $1 a gallon in Washington State. 49 cents is a state tax. There's CCA costs and other things that are combined in there, but it's about $1 a gallon that you guys are throwing away to the government.
Just in time says completely agree. It's stupid. JR Pale Horse is here. Hey, Fort William, Texas is here. We got a lot of old school snow. Leo, thank you. Lori Smith, Mr. E85. Your tax gets taxed. Yeah. Not the only thing that's getting taxed. Would have been better if I did it faster. Did you hear that? Did anybody hear that?
Yes.
I think it was too loud. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize how long that was going to be. Okay. I got to use those more often, but I'll fix the volume on them. They're really loud. Okay. And let's see. Oh, and then this, the only reason is there's some personal connections there that, my sister actually had a very, very close and personal experience with Matthew Perry, not herself, but her. Whoops. My sister had, not herself, but her best friend basically was a server, not a dancer. When she was living in Vegas, she lived in this house with other roommates and stuff, and one of her roommates was a drink server at one of the clubs. In fact, it did food, it did all sorts of other stuff. So, but it did have the adult stuff going on as well. And I can say this because this is something that I saw personally. So I'm at this point, it's really crappy because he has passed, right? A lot of people love Matthew Perry, but in real life, this guy had problems. He had demons, and most people that have probably read his book see that. All we heard about when that book came out is how much he talked about how screwed up and problems and alcoholic and drinks and drugs. They actually say that he passed away of acute effects of ketamine. I have said this since day one. I believe he purposely perished on that day. And I think that he left signs for an entire month. And what was the saddest part is nobody knew that he was doing it. He left signs everywhere. The last chapter in his book was I Am Batman. Batman or whatever. That was the 11th chapter of his autobiography. And he did all of these Instagram posts, and everybody said that. And by the way, there's folks that think it was like a sacrifice, this or that. Maybe it is. Who knows? But I will say this: I believe he was telling people he was depressed and he was going to take, do what he did. I honestly, I see it. It's clear as day. He put all these posts and the cranberries post of all of these things that added up. He was trying to be clever. Himself, Matthew Perry, his set of humor, the way that he talked, the way that he thought, He was trying to do this really um, grandiose way of going out and thought, oh, people got it. And I think people really legitly missed it. He thought that this whole way of going out in this style, that everybody would guess it, everybody would know about it, right? But nobody did. If you look at his Instagram posts, and hold on, gosh dang it, I just hate that these stupid freaking videos, stupid things pop up. Let me zoom into Mr. Perry here. So I think that he did this. All of the posts, and it showed him in the place that he perished. It showed him in the corner of the hot tub with the full moon up there. He was telling people exactly how he was going to do it. And then the berries, that could have been like a notion to like he's gonna poison himself, whatever else. But he kept saying Batman, and then he even says, "Do you know what I mean?" I think he thought somebody was gonna come save the day. When his assistant left, then he ended up passing in that short time period. Now they're saying it was the effects of ketamine. Now I knew somebody that had a problem with ketamine, and it's bad. Like it has changed who they are. Their physical being, everything about it. And I've never saw that. Like I've never really known too much about how that does. So I don't know if that played too much into it. But the guy, he was obsessed with people that work at these adult clubs. He was obsessed with my sister's friend to the point where he left angry messages, just met her, and acted like, "Oh, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm Matthew Perry. Like I could get anybody, blah blah blah." And said, "Answer my effing call," like message after message after message, and basically stalked her. Then went to my sister and went to other people and were trying to find this girl. So that was the actions of him, like probably 10 years before he perished, and when he was more at his peak, right? That's how he acted. So I personally know from personal family experience that this guy was like, he was really disturbed in a lot of ways. But how many of you kind of followed the whole thing with Matthew Perry? Dex, go ahead.
I was just going back to the berries. Wasn't it cranberries he was dropping, or a picture of him holding cranberries? And the singer, Dolores, head lead singer from the Cranberries, she also perished in a tub and drowning in a similar situation. And wasn't that
Yeah.
what people were pointing to? Okay.
Yeah, and he was so clearly like posting one thing after another, like, "Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you know what I mean?" He was saying he was going to go. And not to mention his physical appearance was so different. Like this is actually a good picture of him. They were being nice. Um that people couldn't recognize him. His voice, the way he talked, I don't know if it was a teeth thing or a mouth. People didn't actually recognize. He talked about it. He said that he would walk down the street, he would never get recognized because people watched Friends. They knew Matthew Perry and Chandler, and they would walk down the street, and there's this 280-pound guy that doesn't look anything like him, doesn't talk like him. Thought maybe, oh, he kind of looks like him, but if he was, not him. So he talked about that, how in the last 10 years, nobody even recognized him. And if you think about how when he was younger, he had this mentality of, do you know who I am? And if you're one of these people that says, I'm Matthew Perry, do you know who I am? If you can imagine having that mindset and then walking down the street and have nobody recognize you or say hello or say, hey, I'm your biggest fan, that would be really messed up. I mean, it's kind of his own fault for setting himself up for that, but you could see why he was like that. As far as some of the other crazier theories, I didn't look too much into the sacrifice, that kind of stuff. I would love to see the evidence of all of that too, but I just haven't looked at it yet. I thought my interpretation of it is I saw he was telling people he was going to do this before he did it, and nobody noticed. He did a joke. He was doing like a joke that nobody got. He was doing a message. What did you guys think? I watched Friends a lot when I was younger. Some people hate it. I know Elon Musk like posted a meme like, my friends when they say they like Friends, and then it says him, like, basically hates it, right? I loved that show when I was younger. I'm not gonna lie. I loved. I watched it all the way through to the very crappy end. So it was crazy to find out in real life what kind of person he is. And these celebrities that you have spent so much time watching. If you watched all 7 seasons of something or all 10 seasons, then you feel like you know the people. And then when you find out that they're completely different or a jerk in real life, it kind of screws it up for you. And then the way he went out, it was just we see this like probably 3 times a year, some huge celebrity death that just doesn't add up. Uh Dex, did you ever watch Friends, or were you not a fan?
Oh, yeah, I watched it a little bit at my own choosing, but not that much, and then my wife loves it and watches the reruns all the time, so I've seen them all now, but not by choice.
It would suck to be famous. Marv, Dex, what's your experience? Well, we're not. Occasionally get recognized by Foogle fam, and it's always been a positive experience. I have had one weird experience, but that was it. But normally, it's nice not being famous. You don't want to be famous. You don't want to have. I would say that probably adds into it. But if you're famous and then you take it to the point where I'm this big person, then yeah, the people that do that, it doesn't last long, and people see that they are like that, right? They see that they're full of themselves. I specifically, I look see all of the celebrity stories of like who's good in real life and who's not. There was a recent celebrity. Oh, the girl from Snow White. People say that she's rude. A lot of people say that what's her face is really rude. A girl that's on a lot of shows right now. Uh, you want to be the gray man, yeah. Um, what was that woman? Everybody talks about her, but she's super hot and everything. Not hot, but right now she's hot, and everybody's talking about her. But apparently she's super rude, doesn't take pictures with people, tells people off. Oh, somebody told me that they met what's her face, Billie Eilish, and she's just totally full of herself. I could see that she's very young and went to stardom very, very fast. Who's a celebrity that you have met in person and found out that they weren't the people that you thought they were? I've met a lot of celebrities during my time working with tourists and things. Um, and I have been as a server. I served Robin Williams. He tipped me $100. He was overly polite. Helped me pick up stuff when I dropped it. He actually walked over to another part of the restaurant to help me pick up dishes, and tipped me $100 when I ended up doing. And I was a busser. I wasn't a server. He helped me pick up my stuff, and I always thought that was really cool. Um, Total jerk, the guy from uh, Gene Hackman, not Gene Hackman, the other guy. Was it Gene Hackman? I've met him too. The the guy from Anthony whatever, the guy from Hannibal Lecter, that guy. Um, he owns an island off of Orcas Island, and I believe he was
Hopkins?
Anthony Hopkins. He was No, he was a nice guy. There was a real big jerk, which was one of the guys that was James Bond, um, the guy who was in Miss Doubtfire too. Well, Pierce Brosnan was a jerk when I was working that job, and he basically shooed me away, and I wasn't even asking for anything. I was asking him if he needed anything, and he didn't answer and shooed me away. Pretty rude. And then I've met other Chris Evans was really nice guy. The other guy that was in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Christian guy, he is super nice. I've met him twice, and he was just overly nice. Who's a celebrity you guys met and was a good guy or a bad guy or a good woman or a bad woman? Pierce is rude. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it was Pierce Brosnan that was super rude. Shooed me away like I was an animal. Kid Rock is cool though. I feel like if I met the small guy, his small friend that died. I know I've been around. He was at a show that I was at, and then watched them outside the movie world. My parents live on Orcas Island. Lori Steck, Orcas Island is beautiful. I probably know your parents. Not even kidding. Joe C. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw Joe C. at a get together after a concert. Taylor Swift is witchy. Oh, Taylor Swift, I can't stand her. I saw clips of her talking about politics, and I just couldn't do it. Chuck Norris is super nice. Met Mark Harmon. I would see that guy as a nice guy. Kelly Clarkson, incredibly nice and genuine. I believe that. Isn't she the one that has a clip of her saying that she didn't take millions of dollars to do something, and kind of, and she was talking to Kevin Hart about the Illuminati type of thing, and she said they were offering her millions of dollars to do something that she didn't want to do, and she didn't do it. Dex, go ahead.
Norman Reedus from Walking
Oh,
Dead.
yeah, yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that guy was a total he seemed nice for a moment, but then he turned into a complete jerk on an airplane.
Okay, but would you expect anything else? It's Norman Reedus. Like
I know.
he
He just
plays the best jerk in the world.
yeah, and he was in real life. Just like literally gave us the finger.
That's
So
funny. Chuck,
and
yeah,
then what's his name? Steve Wozniak. I chatted with him in an airport. Very cool guy.
Steve Wozniak. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, Steve Wozniak. Wait, is that the Apple guy?
Yeah, the other Apple guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He took what's his face? I forget what tech reviewer he took into an Apple store, and he used his card to get a discount, an employee discount. He goes, "Oh, I have an employee discount. Can we use that?" And they like gave him crap. And they asked what his employee number was, and he goes, one. Could you imagine that? You're an employee at an Apple store, and they're like, okay, what's your employee number? And they say one. You would like, what? Oh, like that would be so funny. I forget who that was that he took. Either way, Vigo lived by Vigo Mortensen in North Idaho. Talked with him. Vigo, I feel like he would be a nice guy, but you never know. Like who's going to be an actual nice person and who's not going to be. Ben Stiller, a real nice guy. I could see that. There's people that essentially don't. David Hasselhoff. I feel like he's got to be a nice guy. He didn't say whether they were or not. Anthony Hopkins. Unfortunately, I think Anthony Hopkins was a nice guy. I feel like the rude one was Pierce. And then somebody else. I feel like I'm missing one. It was another comedian. Oh, Dane Cook was super nice. Dane Cook was at a concert, and then I met a few bands when I worked security as a security at a concert venue. I met Afro Man, and Afro Man offered me to hit his J, and I might have partaked. The guy who did but then I got high. That was pretty funny. And then Redman, I've met Method Man, lots of those guys, and I had to be the guy. I was their like kind of their B word that brought them stuff in the green room. Pretty fun. And then I met this guy named Riff Raff. He was the worst show I've ever had to work on. All right. Well, thank you guys, and I hope everybody had fun tonight, and I hope everybody joins us tomorrow. And really, tomorrow will be dependent on what happens tonight. So hopefully everybody joins us, and thank you everybody that made it tonight. Thank you for the mods that had that stuck around and helped all of with the Foogle fam. Remember, you can go to marfooglenews.com/friends and find all of them. And then let's see here. Thank you to a couple of new members there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kim Waxman, thank you. Julie Pilkerton, Snow Leo, Stephen McMahon, Western Body, and Woman of Wonder, Sarah B, Debbie357, Mars World, Carol. Carol, thank you so much. I'm glad you were here tonight. Liz W, Jen, a free elf. I used to be in Larry. Danish Girl. Hopefully you are doing really well tonight and every night. And then J Girl, that's me. Bobby Sue Fry and everybody else. Thank you. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother. Happy Friday.
And yeah, it's crazy how the week has just flown by. If there's any emergencies, we will be putting that out on Marfoogle News, and then make sure to stay tuned to that channel too, because we're putting together a really cool thing, a project that has taken us 3 days so far. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. All right, see ya. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
I got KD Queens and Latin, Tennessee, Tactical, and the homegrown. For glory of Christ, fade away, and Mr. John. Great job, Adam and Dex Mars. Good night, everyone. See, I think, lady, yeah, I'm standing love, and yeah. Love always, Edgar Allan Poe is related to me. Scott from Mosey. Jennifer Mills, Wilford Williams, and a genius by birth. American Argonaut and a Mrs. Her. Texas Scrap 49. I'm back with the Dex James High. I say hello, I say hi. I love you, stay everybody away. Free of movies and a Trace TQ. Sparky's run and I cut the bullshit. A Shannon Gilbert, I love it. I'm switching to fiber optic internet. Congratulations. Susan Big and everybody salutations. I Casper Sparks and the Mitch Long. Julie C and Julie Pilkington. How? With a Terry Snyder, you do, and much love. I freestyle and everybody above. James Garcia for William, Texas. A day girl, that's me, and everybody exes. Hey, deep, deep, do. They gonna die in a day, gonna craze, and a day gonna go this way. I wanna wait, wanna be, wanna see, and everything you say. They gonna die in a day, gonna craze, and a day gonna go this way. I wanna wait, wanna be, wanna see, and everything you say.
All right, thank you to our top supporter tonight. Thank you so much, everybody that made it here tonight. But special thank you to Julie Pilkerton. Let's fresh one.